Welcome to Solution Focused Future. I'm Joe George. Today we are here with two wonderful people from Family-Based Solutions, Ayse Adil and Joe Lettieri. And how do you two like to be introduced?
We are solution focused coaches, if that helps. With Joe and I met many years ago, about 16 years ago. We established Family-Based Solutions in 2012.
So we're a small charity or NGO. I think there's names different. So we work with the whole family. So and it's all around reducing conflict, parents abused by their children, survivors of domestic abuse once perpetrators left the home. So doing some recovery work. Just introduced a sort of adult program for people that want to change negative behaviours towards their spouses and their children.
So we work in 3 boroughs in North London, Haringey and Barnet. But since COVID, we have extended that to whoever really needs the support for the domestic abuse recovery workshops and the adult abusers workshops. Also the solution focused parent workshops. Anything to do with child to parent abuse is local, because that's quite intensive work and the waiting list is very long. So we couldn't offer that out, but anything else, anything that's online, we can offer to anybody. So we have clients from other countries that join us as well. And
you interview prolifically. Like you guys have I was scrolling through your interviews. How did that start?
But in the first phases of when COVID hit, we decided to interview, because we were thinking, how can we reach people without them coming to the office? And we were still continuing with the Zoom meetings, but how can we actually support our community? So we started inviting members of the local community, including a doctor and some familiar faces in the local community too. And then we thought, why don't we invite Guy Shannon to talk to us? And then we thought, let's have a chat with Guy Shannon. And then after Guy, it was like, who's next? And then it became addictive. And it just started to evolve and evolve and evolve.
I'm going to pivot a little bit and go over to do you use solution-focused thinking in your own lives?
I think it was a natural fit for me when I first came across it, because before that it was like, I suppose I was always someone that would try and see the tiniest little bit of hope in any sort of dire situation. So that it was always about, I can't do anything about that, but what can I do something about? So I think it was a natural fit almost.
I use it a lot with my husband, who's a police officer. And so usually when we do see each other, because we both work very long hours, when we do see each other, I do use solution focus with him to try and help him reflect on his day, because it's always quite difficult, the homes that he goes to, the people that he sees, the colleagues that he's working with. So I do intentionally use it with him then, and he's okay with that. He actually enjoys that. With my children, it's a little bit harder, but I think within the office we do use it in our natural everyday conversations. We do scale each other quite often, especially if someone in the team's done a really good job. I mean, reality is reality, so we're not always going to be using it at home, but there are certain parts in a conversation where you will be quite solution focused, especially with friends when they do kind of ask for support.
What are the 3 most important things people should master as they learn to use solution focused thinking?
Listening.
Yeah.
Listening.
How would that be different from normal therapy?
Well, when you're listening with an ear of looking for exception and small little nuggets. And I think that takes a lot of practice, because we, as human beings, we've kind of been conditioned to look for the problems and try and resolve those problems for them. And then kind of go, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, and kind of be dragged down with whatever's being said. But I think the listening, I think everything else you can grasp pretty quickly, but it's the listening. If you can't listen with a solution-focused ear, everything else goes out the window. And that takes a lot of practice.
If you're learning solution focus for the first time, I think there might be a bit of anxiety. Is I've got to get through all the questions, you know, and I've got to, you know, get through what does the client want, scaling, miracle day, maybe. And as you get more confident, it becomes more of a conversation rather than a interrogation. And the listening is important, because my next question will follow on from what the client's just said. So if in my head I'm just thinking I've got to ask this amount of questions or this process, you may miss something really important. So yeah, it's listening for those exceptions, but also listening for, is this client ready to move forward? I think we can't be solution forced either.
Listen with the solution focus ear, follow the client. What would be the third?
So don't make assumptions about what depression means, or what anxiety means, or what it's like to be on the spectrum. You have to remain curious. How is this a problem for you? Because I think sometimes we can make assumptions because we've maybe read a bit about depression or know someone who's had depression, but I still need to know from that unique individual who's in front of me how it affects them, and also how they've managed despite everything else. So yeah, don't make assumptions about anything that you've heard, and don't be afraid to ask for clarification, because I'd rather get it right than just carry on with a conversation and not actually clarified what that person's just said.
And everyone brings their own previous experiences into what they do, and their version of solution focused thinking and solution focused practice. Did you have a theoretical approach before you went to SFBT, and how did it influence your current practice?
For me, working in a secondary school, I was placed as a professional in the expert of helping families who were not functioning in a way that society wanted them to function in. So I was in an expert role. So I would be presented with a family, and I would be looking at everything that's happening and then tell them what to do and how to do it and give them deadlines. Was what I was doing working? No. It might have worked very, very short term, but the moment I'm not there, or there's no one to tell them what to do, it fails instantly. So there was no theoretical practice. It was more of, this is what you need to do, and your child needs to come to school, so this is what you have to do, blah, 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 whatever it might be. So yeah, I found it a little bit difficult when I first came across a solution-focused approach. Not that I didn't think it would work, but not having to know the history. Because I would sit down and take a log of from the moment they were born up until now. I mean, a slight exaggeration, but I would have all the details there. What I did with that information, I don't know, because really it was just logged. Yeah, so having not knowing, I mean, when Joe and I are practicing solution focus, we do let the clients talk, and we do let them kind of talk about what you know, the experiences that they've had, the negative and positive experiences that they've had, the challenges they've faced. But again, it's kind of listening with that different ear, and that took me a long time, far longer than Joe, to understand the difference that it makes just to listen, because I've always been standing up in front of a classroom, or in front of a group of parents, or telling people exactly what to do. So I found it a little bit more difficult. But looking back at what I used to do, I've taken nothing forward.
I had years of not being in the caring profession. So I was, what was I? I've been a shoe shop manager, I've been a driver, I've been a sous chef. What else have I done? God, all different things, Joe. So I had no theoretical background, really. It wasn't something where I was, using one method and then decided this method was better. So yeah, I'm fairly new. I think I was 40 when I first started working in a school as a mentor. So for me, it was about how do I keep this young person in school so they don't get kicked out permanently? What is it they can change? Because change had to happen. Something had to change. Because like I used to say, the school and the system isn't going to change for you. Maybe in years to come and you've got a march going and everything's going to be, the way you want it to be. But at this present moment in time, unfortunately, you're going to have to make the changes first. What can we do to keep you so that you're successful? So that was always a kind of, I suppose it was always looking for a better way or a solution. But I don't think it was anything that, like I said, it wasn't anything that I had an idea of before I went into it. It was just, again, listening to the young people and letting them understand that the teachers didn't hate them, which was always the first thing when it's storm in the room. He hates me. He always kicks me out. So we'd go through that process. So, what do you think next time? What do you think you could do so that you can? Because he's still going to be your maths teacher tomorrow. It's not going to change. So maybe we have to do something different. And that's the essence, isn't it? Otherwise, like they say, if you don't do something different, don't expect different results.
We actually came across it by accident. Someone suggested that we look into solution focused therapy. And we kind of gave it a go, but it felt right. And for Joe, Joe Lettieri, it felt right. I was a bit, but then when I witnessed Joe in a session with a mother and daughter, I could see the transformation happening. And he was just testing it out. It was the first time he was, carrying out a session from beginning to end, if you like, the best hopes and going into the scaling and the miracle. And because, we were fairly new at it. And I kind of sat there and thought, wow, I need to give this a go. But as soon as I saw Joe conduct a session, for me, I thought, that's it. This is it. I love the language. It's something that you can still be yourself. You need to find your own way of delivering it. That's really, really important. But it allows you to do that. Whereas traditional therapy doesn't really allow you to do that. But yeah, that's why, because it just fits. It was something that Joe was already doing anyway. And I'm influenced a lot by Joe and the way that he delivers sessions. So that session that he was delivering was out of this world. And it made a huge, you could physically see the change. Not even just from what they were saying, but you could physically see the change in them in that one session. So that's what sold it to me.
Yeah, I didn't need much selling, Joe. When we had 2 days training with Brief in London, Harvey came down, and it was like, yeah, this is what we've been looking for. Because previous to that, it was all around, saying, right, well, this behaviour is not acceptable. We need to have a behaviour contract or some kind of, and asking clients, so, what brings you here, and everyone blaming each other for the situation they were in. And you still get that. You still get that. But just asking a simple question, which seems so easy, but when you say, so what would you like instead of that? And it's just such a simple question to turn a conversation around into a more future-focused, present-focused situation, because we can only change the present, right? We are guided by our past and we're imprinted by that. But I have a choice. No matter how young I am or feel I don't have a choice, I do have a choice. I can do something. And it was those lovely small steps. So it wasn't something huge. It was what would be the tiniest thing that you could do that might make a difference, or would make a difference for you. And it just felt, yeah, so of course families are coming to us not to just tell us about their history, but they want things to be better. Who doesn't?
You deal with a lot of different people. What fields beyond counseling do you feel best aligned with solution-focused thinking?
I don't think there's a field where it doesn't align. It's so versatile.
And I've had this discussion the other day with one of my colleagues. I know it came out of the field of family therapy, and it seems to have, as well, it's spread way beyond that now. Coaching, sports coaching, businesses, into schools. I think there's a lot of, especially teachers out there that want to spend more time praising than they do telling people off.
Were there any moments when you felt solution-focused brief therapy wasn't working for you?
No, I don't ever think I've ever thought that. I mean, even with clients where they've presented with not being able to think in a way that I would hope, it's just again giving them a bit of time, and just even if they want to talk about the problems that brought them to us, it's just if you just listen with a respectful ear and with an ear of picking out those nuggets, just chipping away. Because some people that we work with have been through domestic abuse over and over again for many, many years, and then they're struggling with their own children. So having a session of, what are your best hopes, and on a scale of 1 to 10, and not kind of focusing on that can be quite disrespectful, because some parents feel very, very isolated. So having conversations with them and allowing them to kind of express themselves, and then us picking out what we've noticed, is still very solution focused. So I don't think I've ever felt this is not right for us, or it hasn't worked. I think if it doesn't work, it's what are we going to do about it? But it's constantly being able to evolve, isn't it? Learning new skills and being open to that. I think we've seen a change where, we've received a referral, they would make contact with them, the parents would turn up with their children, and we would ask, what's working well, what wouldn't you change about your child, or whatever. And the parent just wanted to tell us what the problem was constantly, because they've just had enough. So what we've actually done, again, some benefits of COVID, very few, but there's been some. We've introduced a solution-focused parent workshops. And what that basically means is that we have just parents that are on the waiting list. As I said before, it's quite a long waiting list, and they all get together. We give them opportunities to kind of talk about what's brought them here in their breakout rooms, and then talk about teaching them how to look for exceptions and how to listen with a different ear, and the type of questions that they can be asking and introducing in their home. So by the time, if they do then need further support, which most don't because those sessions are enough, if they do, the parents already on board and they know exactly how it works. They know what it looks like. So the parents had the opportunity to offload, had the opportunity to discuss the problems, had the opportunity to explore different ways of trying to tackle that without the child even knowing what they're doing. So it's promoting their own successes. So when they do come here, The kids love it because the parents being quite positive with the questions rather than.
If you two had to come up with an advertising campaign for solution-focused brief therapy, what would your slogan be?
Well, what's on our website? Moving forward together. That's quite a nice phrase.
That is nice. Yeah.
So
Moving
it's
forward
like,
together is nice.
yeah.
Well, therefore, you already have your slogan.
Yeah, moving forward
It's on our
together.
website all the time. We didn't even know.
Don't look too far. We already have the resources.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Moving
Excellent.
forward together. There you go.
And you've done, like you said, you've done dozens and dozens of these. What am I leaving out?
Yeah, I don't really, it's kind of just, we just let the conversation flow where it goes. And I think that's where this has been really nice, actually, to have a chance to reflect even sometimes. Because when you're so wrapped up, you don't often get that opportunity to sit back and say, yeah, what do I appreciate about this approach? And I guess, what do the clients appreciate? I'd hope they'd say that they felt, that they weren't judged, that they felt that there was some light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, the SF24 video that the workshop that we delivered was with parents. And it was asking parents to talk about what they felt, how they benefited, and the ups and downs of the solution focus approach in their eyes. And that was quite interesting.
Do you remember some of the big takeaways that stuck with you?
I think, yeah, one of the parents, she said, not to be solution forced. I think she had a psychiatrist that turned up on their doorstep because something quite terrible had happened. And the psychiatrist was a solution-focused practitioner also. And it was very much, so moving forward, those sort of questions, rather than just kind of listening to the trauma that she had just experienced. With another one, it was about going at their own pace. So one of the clients that I met with, one of the first things she said to me on the phone, and she said this in the video, was that people just didn't listen to her or didn't give her the time and allow her the space to think. So when I asked her a question, I waited 6 minutes for her to answer, which, by the way, was a long time for me because, as you guys can tell, I am not the most patient person. But that then allowed her to be heard and to think. And it was actually through her that I learned to listen better.
Like you keep saying, Ayse, with the validation, well, you keep talking about the hearing, the listening, but with that, I'm inferring that you also are talking about the validation of the pain, and the validation of the event.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When I asked, do you ever use it in your own lives? You were both, through both of your responses, I thought of a friend of mine who was going through some stuff. And I said, wow, that's tough. How'd you get through it? And I didn't, so I didn't really mean to undercut her, but I undercut her. So sometimes you can validate and jump forward at the same time.
Yeah. I have a friend, I remember a few months ago, she called me and she said, I really need advice. I'm going through a really difficult time with her son. And so I said, well, are you calling me as a friend? Or are you calling me as someone that you from an FBS member of staff? And she really had to think about it. So she said, well, can I swap and change if I think the other person's going to be? I said, yeah. So I signed off as a friend. I was like, shut up. Really? Oh my gosh. And then it turned, I was like, okay, so what difference would it make if you said it just completely shifted it. So what I'm hearing is that despite all of that, he still managed to come home after school and still did this and still did that. How come he didn't choose to do anything else? What is it about you? How did you influence him to be able to do that? And she was like, oh my God, she goes, I can't decide which one I want. Because there is a bit of a difference there. But, because are you going to be just a supportive friend where she can just offload? And even then, you can't help but look for exceptions. which is why when I shifted to an SF coach or practitioner, I could go back and talk about all the exceptions that I heard as her friend.
I noticed with some of your questions that obviously you're reflecting upon different sessions and things that you've had, but I noticed some of your terminology and your phrasing seems actually more similar to the American branch than to brief. So I thought that was
yeah, I would call, yeah, definitely. Yeah. We were trained by brief, but we have so many people that we network with all over the world that we are far more influenced by you guys, really. With Russ, Linda, Gil Green, Professor Gil Green, he's a huge influence and we love him dearly. And we make it our business to bother them for a bit of enlightenment. Do you know a paper on this? And so we're always in contact with everybody. But then having conversation after conversation after conversation, you pick up on what works for you as a person and for your organization. And then you find your feet, and then you find yourself, and then you think, right, this fits for me.
Yeah, I think I know for me personally, I think once, like you said, once you learn the approach, over time you get more confident and you start to sort of think, even if it's not the best hopes question, different versions of it. And then you start to realize that I need to do more problem-free talk, at the start. I don't need to go straight into what needs to happen so that we don't have to meet again. Tell me about you. What do you do for fun? What brings you joy? And it's such a lovely starter, because someone's got something that they enjoy, something that they feel they're good at. What skills does that take? Because then I think it greases the wheels a little bit more for the maybe trickier conversations that you're going to have later down the line. So I think it's something now that I want to do more of. I definitely do more of now. Tell me about you.
And that you can't be trained on that. That comes through networking. That comes through conversations. So join as many networking events, online networking events, whatever it might be, as many as we possibly can, which is what we've been doing. And that's where we've started to notice a difference within ourselves and noticeably different in our clients.
And what's next?
Oh, what's next, Joe? I don't know, another song, another music release, maybe. We have this thing that we release a music video once a year now.
Yeah, I saw you had one that you posted with kids just the other. You posted like over Christmas season.
I think the team's kind of growing. For us, is at the moment managing and staying alive as a charity. Because of COVID, we missed out on quite a lot of the monies that we would have raised. But building up our team so they are able to kind of carry this forward, I think, is what's next for me. I'm assuming Joe would kind of agree on this.
Yeah.
Building up the work in the schools.
Yeah, like the main priority in the next few months will be securing the charity survival, because that's kind of the way things are at the moment. More and more people are looking for support. So as government agencies get overflowed, it kind of drops onto the charity sector to try and pick up the pieces. So yeah, just surviving. We've got a really strong team at the moment. It is a team. It's not like there's two people leading it and no one else has a say. It is almost like a think tank at times. We have some wonderful conversations, some stupid conversations, but some really, really nice conversations. And just getting that going and hopefully spreading the word that solution focus does have a lot of merits to it. It's not a fly-by-night thing. Hopefully one day the National Health Service will recognise it as an intervention worth investing in.
But we'd love to train, which is something that we're going to be starting to look into once we kind of secure the charities, kind of looking into training staff at youth offending services to deliver what we do, wherever they may be, because we can't be everywhere.
Well, you referred to it, Joe, as an NGO, and then you've mentioned charity and whatnot. How do you sustain yourselves? Like, how is the organization? You have to feed yourselves. Like, how does it work in England?
We have things like the National Lottery, trusts that have that give money to charities. So you basically write a bid with a budget behind it, explain the need that you're addressing, why you feel you're best placed to do it, what outcomes you expect from the people that you work with, and then you put the bid in, and fingers crossed. So far, we've been quite successful in getting the money in that we need, so that we never have to charge our clients. The other beauty of that way of working is we can still maintain quite a lot of independence in terms of if I'm beholden to a local authority, for example, and don't follow their protocols and all the rest of it, then you've got that threat of losing your funding.
Because the one thing that we praise ourselves on is giving people the time and space to find themselves. So when they walk through our doors, they're not the client and we're not the coach or the practitioner or the therapist. We're just going to have a conversation. So whatever that conversation looks like, it will always be solution focused in some shape or form. Again, that depends on the client and what they're presenting. But I have no problem saying, I'll put the kettle on your way in. Because a lot of our clients are isolated. They don't have friends. They don't have family. They're hiding everything that's happening to them away from everybody. So for me to say, put the kettle on your way in, is a huge thing for them. To feel needed, I might call one of my clients. I mean, I have one of my clients, I will call her and say, can you write a blog on this for me? Or can you read this book because I haven't got time, and then summarize it for me? Or can you do me a favor and do this for me? What I'm actually doing is helping them help themselves and feel part of the team. Because when you feel lost and you don't belong, there's no point in sitting there asking traditional questions. They need to like themselves before they can move forward. So if they're going to come in here and they see someone goes, oh, pick that up for me, please. Oh. The kids love it. I mean, I don't know why, but they do. So that's where I think, compared to a lot of the services in our area, that's where we're quite different. You walk through our doors, you are part of the team. So you're going to be treated like part of the team. You may not like it, because we are sometimes brutally honest, but we will speak to you with a lot of respect because we like you and we have faith in you and we know that you can do it. So just hurry up and do it. The key is for us is to invest in people. It's not just about them coming in here. I mean, so many parents that come to the workshops, if they've come once or to one set, and they usually just keep coming back because they enjoy it, it becomes like a social thing for them. And then I'll just randomly say, congratulations, you are now a volunteer. And you're going to be leading on breakout rooms. Congratulations, you're now a volunteer. And I'll just start giving them tasks to do. Congratulations, you are now this. You are now this. And they're like, I'm not, you can do it. Go off and do it. Don't look at me. Just go off and do it. So I kind of bully my way through things sometimes, but it's but they do it, and it's investing time is the most precious thing that you can give anybody. That listening ear and that time and the belief that you're going to do it because I'm stubborn and I know you're going to flip and do it. Because if you don't, that means I'm rubbish. So you're going to do it. So we almost kind of become their motivation to change. Because they enjoy our company so much, they do it for us. If there's no other motivation, they will do it for us. Even when Joe's working with adult abusers, and they will always jump on and say, I don't know why the social worker told me to come here. I ain't done nothing wrong. I'm being judged. And Joe will just listen and listen the way that he does. Listen and listen. By week 5, he can ask them to jump and they'll say how high, because they love him. Because he's given them what he promised, which is a non-judgmental air. You are not here because you beat your wife up or blah, blah. You're here to look at what the best version of yourself looks like and how you can do more of it. And it works. So going back to the other question, no, solution focus is the one for us.
If you find this interesting and haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like, or share this site and hit that little bell button to get notifications as well.